Hi, I'm Sarah Subiata Bennett, and I've got a question for you. Are you ready to foot the bill for DART's financial mismanagement? Because that's exactly what could happen if cities like Plano, Highland Park, and Carrollton decide to pull out of the transit system. And honestly, can you blame them? Crime on DART is up 44%. We're talking arson, assault, robbery, drugs, and these cities are pouring tens of millions of dollars more into DART than they're getting back. But is there more to the story? To help us sort through it all, we've brought in two guests who know this issue inside and out. First, Dallas Express reporter Logan Washburn, who's covered DART extensively since this summer. And Texas Representative Mitch, who serves on the House Transportation Committee and has a front row seat to what's happening every day. You're already funding DART through your sales tax, and if things keep heading in the same direction, you could soon be paying even more. Money that could otherwise go to our roads, schools, or other services that actually work. This episode isn't about buses and trains. It's about accountability, safety, and your money. Let's get into it. Logan Washburn.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you for being here. I mean, I believe that you're the first journalist I've ever interviewed.
Really?
I think so.
All right.
I mean,
that's exciting.
Can you think of any other time, Shannon? No, I mean, and it's interesting because, Shannon especially, she was like, he's so good, so thorough. And I'm like, absolutely. But it's a really bizarre thing because I never would have thought that I would have been so drawn to a reporter's writings on DART.
Yeah.
I mean,
I didn't think I would get interested in it either.
Okay, so what was the trigger? What was the moment where you were like, this subject matter is really important to me and I'm just going to start digging and digging and digging and going?
Yeah. So it would probably be when DART announced their whole public hearing tour earlier this summer saying, we're running out of money, we're going to be cutting all these services. And then the more I started talking to people about it, I realized that they're already spending a lot of money on services right now. And there's more to the story than any of the other local outlets have been reporting.
That's right.
They've just barely scratched the surface.
Yep.
And they haven't bothered to ask why are they losing funding, what led up to this, and do they actually have a bunch of other money that they could be using?
That's right.
So as you just invest time and mental energy in a story, it starts to become really interesting to you,
And are you a journalist by education?
Kind of. I got a minor in journalism.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
And I love it because, so is this your first journalism job?
This is my second. I was at the Federalist before.
That's right.
Yeah.
I knew that.
Yeah.
I knew that. Okay, so you were at the Federalist before.
Yeah.
And then you moved here after being there for how long?
I was just there for the first year of work after college.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
And what's the cultural difference? What are you allowed or disallowed in doing within this role versus what you've done before?
So before, it was much more like commentary journalism, and they would let you do some investigative pieces, and it's a great team there. Molly Hemingway is the editor-in-chief, and Sean Davis. They're great, like mentor-type figures.
Yeah.
And so I loved it. It helped me learn to write opinion pieces much better, but in college and in all of my other experiences, I had really grown to love like local news. And so getting to come here to a city I love and actually practice that has been a lot of fun.
At the Federalist, you commented on how it was there, your great mentors. Can you elaborate a little bit about how it's different working at Dallas Express?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are great mentors here as well, but just in different ways. They have experience in local politics, local news, local things that you wouldn't have any idea about from the national level. And so you get a more detailed look at some of these issues. And public transit is probably not going to make national news anytime soon because who's going to click on a story about that until you realize what is all going on behind the scenes? And there's a lot of drama. There's a lot of money going back and forth. Corruption.
It's corruption. And while public transportation is not sexy.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, corruption, kickbacks,
Right.
that's sexy.
Yeah.
Because people want to know, okay, how is my daily life being impacted by these unethical actions and these persons? And so for me, that is something I want to know about. I hope other people want that knowledge as well. But
Absolutely.
okay, so it's different in that respect. Cool.
It is.
Okay, and so you are now living in the suburbs, right? So you're not a Dallasite right now.
Not Dallas itself.
Do you ever use public transportation yourself?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I mean, I should though, for writing so much about it. It's a great point. And I've heard plenty of stories from people that have ridden on DART, and they say it was great. It got me where I needed to go, no problems. But then you talk to other people also, and they have some really interesting things to say.
Yeah. I'm just going to reference my notes here for a second, because you have become the go-to resource at Dallas Express for all things relating to DART. So there are passionate arguments both for and against DART funding. From your perspective, what are the strongest cases being made on each side?
Yeah, so I think that a really helpful way to look at this is how DART was intended and how DART is now. So the initial proponents of DART, when they established it back in the 1980s, 70s, they initially said, look, this is going to be great for everyone. More public transit means more jobs. It's going to connect people to where they need to go, especially people who maybe don't have a car or a lower income. Like if you need to get somewhere, you've got to have a way to do that. And it was initially supposed to be a very small staff, 25 people. It was supposed to fund itself through the fares collected. But now you look at it and it's expanded a lot, which isn't necessarily bad. But at the same time, that's brought a lot of safety concerns. You've got crime. And just from a funding perspective, a lot of people are concerned because it doesn't fund itself with fares anymore. It's now pretty much just federal funding, and it's funded with sales tax revenue from all of the member cities. So they have to give, I think it's 1 or 2% of every dollar collected to DART. And so it's essentially become a huge taxpayer-funded entity that has grown way beyond what it was supposed to do. And at the same time, they are billions in debt.
That's right. I've spoken with Jeff Leach. Have you had the opportunity to speak with him at all?
I haven't, but I actually reached out to him today about that thing. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
What did you reach out to him about, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah. So we had a recent story, I'm sure you've seen it, about DART giving its executives $747,000. Yes. From 2023 to 2024. And meanwhile, in September, they just made all of these service cuts saying they didn't have enough funding. And that is true. But essentially what he said, he saw our article and reacted on Twitter, X. I don't know what you'd call it.
Yeah. X, yeah.
On X. And he pretty much said we shouldn't allow taxpayer dollars to go toward bonuses for executives of these transit agencies. And then Representative Mitch Little also responded to that, saying he would be one of the first names to co-sponsor the bill. And Karen Mendelson also was expressing support for that in the comments. So people are picking up on this. So I'm reaching out to him because we have even more info about DART in a story that's coming out soon, probably by the time this podcast is out.
Gotcha.
That the problem is much, much worse. They've spent much more money. And so I'm reaching out to him to see if he'll speak with us about that. Same with Representative
That's terrific,
Little.
because I actually want to call him and see if he'll join on this show pertaining to this particular episode.
Yeah.
Because as a member city, directly north of Dallas, I mean, he has a lot to say. Just in the few moments that I spent with him at the Capitol in Austin, he was like, you contact me, because it's harmful. The spending is harmful.
Yes.
I understand that idealistically and originally it was intended to help.
Yeah.
And I do see the pros, but you've touched upon some of the pros for public transportation in that second question I asked. What are some of the cons at this point besides the obvious?
Oh,
but,
yeah.
But just list it if you
Definitely.
can.
So one thing that I didn't initially think much about that has been a real issue for a lot of mayors, like in Farmers Branch, Carrollton, Plano, is the fact that DART lines essentially don't police fares, which means that, sometimes they do, but sometimes people can get on, get off as they please. And that means that homeless people in Dallas, if they want to be in the AC, they need shelter. And so they're going to go where they can get it, which means sometimes hopping on a DART line that will take them to Carrollton, Farmers Branch, or Plano. And at the end of the day, that's where the trains stop. And, they can't just stay there overnight. So local police, DART police, have to go on and they kind of sweep people off the trains. But what that does is create a constant stream of people from Dallas to the suburbs. And then suddenly they're left there without the services that they could have in Dallas, like the bridge. They don't have these overnight shelters. They don't have addiction services there. And so these cities are suddenly getting influxes of homeless people, even though they're doing well economically, they have great public safety, and they don't know what to do about it. And so that's become a constant concern, as well as just the fact that on the funding angle, you touched on that, a lot of these cities are putting in like millions more than they are getting in return. Plano is probably one of the most egregious examples of this. It's putting in tens of millions of dollars more than it's getting back in services. So from a taxpayer perspective, they're struggling to justify this to their citizens. Meanwhile, Dallas is putting in less than it is getting back in services. Meanwhile, Dallas has a monopoly essentially on the DART board.
That's right.
And so, it's very one-sided.
We're going to talk about that because that dartboard is beyond frustrating. But so back to one of the points that we discussed earlier, how $747,000 in bonuses was reportedly paid to the DART executives right before they made a whole bunch of these cuts and fares were increased. Can you walk us through in a really simple way what it is that you uncovered? And has DART responded to or disputed those claims?
Yeah. So essentially what we did is we took the list of executives on DART's public website, sent it to DART and said, we're submitting a public records request for the bonuses paid to these executives. And so they got back to us with a list of officials, names and bonuses that they paid to them. And $747,000 is a huge number, but the way that this plays out is not just that there are a couple people getting these huge payouts. It's the fact that you have like 25-ish executives on that list who are each getting anywhere from like 10 to 20 to even more $1,000 in bonuses every year. And the highest paid ones out of those were getting like $60-ish thousand in bonuses within those 2 years. So that's sizable, that's more than a lot of people would make in 1 year.
For sure.
And so that was just the beginning of what we uncovered. Is it good if I go into...
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Please.
So by the time this podcast comes out, this article will be up. But today I'm planning to file it. We have obtained another document that shows an even more comprehensive list of executive staff members. So there are more names than they gave us. There are many more executives. And from 2020 to 2024, that number has just grown. So they started with 47 executives in 2020. And now in 2024, it was 74 executives.
So you're telling me that that figure, 747,000, was divided amongst more people?
Yeah. So that was divided.
So there wasn't an increased dollar amount.
So initially, it was just divided among those 25 executives.
Got you.
And So for each of them, it wasn't a ton of money, but it adds up to a lot.
Yep.
Then we discovered that there were actually a lot more executives than they gave us on that list. So that number is going to be higher. And from
the figure, so it's more than 747,000.
Yeah.
So they purposefully withheld this.
I think so, or they probably took it to mean, oh, only the names on this website, not all these other VPs and positions we have. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So from 2020 to 2024, this is where it gets good. They paid $2.4 million in bonuses to DART executives.
$2.4 million.
Yep. And it grew every year since 2020. It started, it grew to 400,000-ish in 21. Then I believe 500,000 in 22. Then 600,000. And in 2024, it was 800,000 total.
I'm sorry. My eyes are watering. I am irate.
That's crazy,
I'm pissed.
Isn't it? Yeah. And the only way I got this is because someone saw our initial story and said, hey, I've got this document that shows the problem is worse than you guys think. And so,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is great. This is great and excellent work.
Thank
you. I become so frustrated. Just yesterday, I was at Park House and, there was the whole conversation about, well, okay, Dallas Morning News has, 100,000, subscribers. And I'm like, great, we're up here at the 400,000 to 500,000 range. And so we're at a point where people cannot state that the Dallas Express is not credible.
Yeah.
They may not agree with how things are always reported, but you are uncovering and reporting stories that no other media outlet is reporting in the city.
It's been so exciting because when no one else is willing to look into these things, suddenly everyone involved is screaming from the rooftops.
Of course.
Like, yes, please, someone uncover this. We've been dealing with it for years. And so we are the first ones to uncover a lot of this stuff. The payment disparities as well. We were some of the first to get that document in terms of the payments to DART and services provided.
Yeah. And also, I know that you wrote about the DART chair. So in one of your July articles, I think you released something saying that the DART chair, Gary Slagle's letter to suburban mayors offering GMP funding. So that's the guaranteed maximum price.
That's
GMP funding. Is that what you're relating
it's
to?
It's called General Mobility Fund.
Oh, I was thinking construction
General Mobility Program. Oh, yeah.
Their mobility fund.
Yeah.
Got it. So they offered GMP funding for the mobility fund. Okay.
Yeah.
So if they drop support for reform legislation, but you reached out to all 15 board members and none responded.
No.
Have you received any updates since then?
Let's see. I guess the only updates in the stories are the ones with some of the bonuses. But yeah, so do you want me to walk you through kind of just how that whole GMP thing?
Yes.
All right. So these member cities saw the disparities between the amount of money they were paying into DART and the services they're getting back.
Okay.
And so, they are pursuing all these other options. Earlier this year, they went to the state legislature, basically saying, what if you passed a law allowing us to give DART only part of that sales tax revenue and we can just divert it somewhere else that we think will be more helpful? DART did not like this. They referred to it as DART killer legislation, saying that this would definitively take away their funding. And there was another bill to reform the way the DART board operated, essentially giving more weight to all the cities. All right, so we've got that setting the stage. People are unhappy and frustrated. These cities don't feel like they're getting enough back. So Gary Slagle and the DART board offer what they say at the time was a compromise through the General Mobility Program, giving them a portion of that revenue back. And so they ended up taking a $42 to $43 million chunk of their revenue that they were going to use. they're going to send it back to the cities to try to make them happy.
Got it.
And that is why we have all the service cuts.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah,
he sends it back, and the cities still think, well, this isn't sustainable. We still need these reforms. So they're like, thanks, but we're still going to keep pursuing this.
Yeah.
And so what Gary Slagle sends out in July was a letter saying, hey, in order for you to receive this funding, I want you to promise you will drop all this reform legislation against DART.
Got you.
And so that's where the kickbacks come in. Get this money or, get this money and drop the reforms, or I'm not going to give you the money. And so at the time, the mayors felt totally betrayed. This was pitched as a compromise.
Yeah.
And one of the mayors referred to it as a poison pill for the cities. It's like, all of a sudden, this is held over our heads.
Is this on X anywhere?
Let's see. I believe so. Somewhere Dallas Express put it out.
Yeah.
I don't know how much traction it's gotten.
Got you.
But it's a pretty big deal.
It's a huge deal.
Yeah.
It's such a waste.
Yeah.
I mean, it's corruption at its core.
And everyone's panicked about these DART funding cuts and the service cuts. And, people don't want to lose services they count on. But where all the local media outlets have been leaving it is that, the city's pursued reforms and now DART's losing money. But they're not bothering to look into the fact that DART did it to itself in order to get the cities to drop reforms.
So given your findings, what do you believe would be a minimal set of reforms?
Yeah.
That would, A, restore public trust in DART, and B, provide services or shut it down entirely if you think that it's not even worth discussing. Like, where do you stand on that opinion?
Yeah. So I haven't taken a decisive stance, but I have heard some helpful ideas thrown around, which, some of those reform legislations were interesting, right? If you allow cities to take some of their funding and send it elsewhere,
that's right,
then that creates accountability.
That's right.
Because even the DART board, they have certain members that do push for accountability, but it's hard for them to get a majority of a voice. And it's hard for the DART's own board to even hold its bureaucracy accountable. So they need some checks and balances to make sure that they kind of crack down on things. We also need to take a look at how they organize the board, because currently the way it works is Dallas has a majority on the board, like tons of representatives for Dallas. Meanwhile, you have cities like Farmers Branch and I believe Carrollton or Plano. But multiple of these suburbs are forced to share a single representative. So it's not even like these constituents have a representative on the board. These two cities have to come together to push their representative to do one thing in the sea of people from Dallas.
Yeah.
And so they say that, they feel it disenfranchises their citizens. Then you also have the bonus issue, which, people are discussing prohibiting tax dollars from going to these bonuses, which, again, I won't say definitively whether I think these are good ideas, because I try to
of course,
keep opinion
maintain
aside,
a neutral voice as a journalist. No opinions. But fair enough. Okay. And when you reported that the DART chair offered kickbacks to suburban mayors, do you have direct correspondence?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah. There was a letter that we linked to in that article.
I missed that.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I did not see it. So there was an actual letter.
So if you go in that article, it should be one of the first hyperlinks in there where it talks about the July letter from Slagle.
Got you.
But you click on it and it's under our domain. We have the letter published. He's very clear about what he wants. He says, I want you to clarify your position on this by committing not to pursue any other reforms.
And what has been done after this? Do people pay attention?
I mean, the only people that pay attention are the people involved. So the member cities and
because the general
mayors.
population, they're not following this.
Like, I don't ride DART. I don't I don't know much about this. I don't care about public transit.
But it's crazy because that money that they're paying anytime they're out, their money could be spent on potholes, on police, on paying the police what they're supposed to be paid.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's all the money
infuriating.
You spend on any sales. They get a chunk of that. And so we've got to start asking the questions of what are they doing with the money we spend? Dallas has people move here for the economy and for business. And so when you do these transactions,
and that's not even touching upon the crime.
No.
I mean, the crime on DART. Can you elaborate a little bit on what you've covered in that respect? Yeah. It's crazy.
So there are, oh my gosh. So this summer, we've seen crime escalate on DART. They will say that crime has been dropping, which is not true according to the reports. It only drops if you omit the statistics about drug crime. It's like if you count all the crime, though, it's going up. And so recently we had, what was it? I'm going to try to go in chronological order, but I'll just sort of list some of the incidents. So in Richardson earlier this summer, a man stabbed another man near a DART station. He hopped on the DART train, took off. Police found him 12 miles away at another DART station a few hours later.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, so there's that. And then we had another dead body was found at a DART station in Garland, I believe, which, drugs, homelessness, it kind of comes with it. Not sure what the case was in this instance, but it was very sad. Then we had in the first week of October, or within the same week at the beginning of the month, there were 2 deadly shootings on DART in Dallas.
That's right.
And typically you hear about these instances and they're spread out more, but the fact that they're getting closer together is more concerning. There was one guy, he was the manager at a restaurant, Po Melvin's in Irving, and he was just getting back from celebrating his birthday, got into some sort of altercation and was shot and killed. And then there's another individual less than a week later. So it's getting worse. And when you see the actual crime statistics in their quarterly reports, it shows that since January, crime has been going up on DART. And
then that doesn't even account for the DART bus that ran into this building.
Yeah, I was going to say there was also So this summer we had another instance like that where a bus just ran straight up the hill at a DART station in Dallas. The pictures were wild.
I missed that.
Oh, you can look it up.
I missed that.
I want to say Dallas, Texas TV, that X account.
Yeah.
They put up a video. But yeah, was it 2023 when a DART bus? Yeah, they literally on the street outside of this building. I'm not sure how they did it because it looks like they went into oncoming traffic to get to the building.
I know.
But yeah, they crashed right into the side of the building here and caused some pretty serious damage. The concrete was everywhere. Like firefighters had to come in and, take care of people. It was crazy.
This is what I don't understand.
Yeah.
I mean, who is held accountable for that?
Yeah. No, exactly.
Does DART pay for that?
I don't know. Like the damages?
Yeah.
You would hope so.
Right?
Right? I mean, if they pay for it, though, it's going to be through our tax dollars.
I know.
And they've got all this debt.
Yep.
Another thing that could potentially be leading to some of these crashes, which, again, it's not confirmed, but it's been a consistent issue that even some other outlets have picked up on. The fact that they don't do consistent maintenance to a lot of these buses.
That's right.
They recently got new ones, finally.
Yep.
But for a long time their buses were just wearing out on the streets. These drivers were reporting these crazy mechanical issues, like breakdowns in the middle of the road, like have trouble steering, just really bad environment on the inside of the bus even.
Yeah.
So they basically had been wearing out, and so mechanical issues also happen with that.
At this point, do you foresee any type of changes to the board itself and to leadership there at the organization?
Let's see.
After all of your uncovered.
I
material?
think that depends on what people do next. So
By people who?
local officials, locally and state officials.
Yep.
Right. DART has already shown that they're very afraid of some of these reforms passing in the state, which, a lot of local leaders in cities like Plano have actually been directly involved in lobbying for that stuff, the legislature. But so you've got those reform efforts that we had talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And you also have the fact that in 2026 is a window to opt out of DART. For Plano, Irving, in these cities, they've kind of put it out there that they might consider this. And what that would do is send the issue to the voters to let them decide, do you think DART's serving you well? Do you want us to do our own transit thing? Because it doesn't mean eliminating DART either.
Yeah.
They've floated starting their own local transit agencies.
That's right.
And so we'll have to see what happens.
Logan, I can't thank you enough. Thank you for your excellent work, for being relentless in the pursuit of truth, because it's people like you who are actually making a difference in our city.
Thank you.
In many, many areas. So hopefully we can work to stop the criminality of it all. And again, you don't have to use that word.
Yeah.
I know you don't. I do. I believe it's criminal that this money is not being stewarded in a responsible way. Thank you.
Thank you.
First, I would just want to understand your why.
Yeah.
Like, what prompted you to want to even
Are
run?
we on right now?
Yeah.
Oh, we're running.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
What prompted me?
From the lumbar support on.
Yeah, good. What prompted me
Hey,
to?
we're just talking. We're just
Sure.
talking. Yeah.
Yeah, to want to run.
Yeah.
Oh, I just got mad. I represented the attorney general in his impeachment proceeding.
I know.
And I got home from that experience and just realized I didn't think I was being represented well. And a lot of people, I think, felt that way last primary season. So I decided to make a run at it. It was extremely disruptive to family and professional life, but I'm so glad that I did. When I finally got down to Austin in January, I spent the first 60 days going, I do not belong here. This has been a huge waste of time. And then when we started getting into committees and hearing bills, I started realizing that I could make a difference. So
And
glad that I did it.
you certainly have. I mean, from before you running up to now, I just appreciate your voice that you persist to use every single day.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I think you're terrific. And I know today I asked you to come on specifically relating to DART.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if you saw, Shannon, another article came out on the 29th.
I saw something from Express
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah. And it's,
It's mind-boggling. In fact, I think I reposted it.
yes. And
Yeah.
so I thank you for that, because it's the Plano versus DART.
Yeah, I think I saw, if I'm remembering correctly, Sarah, I think Plano has put in $109 million and got $44 million back in service.
Exactly.
Something like that.
Yes.
This came up during the legislative session, as you know.
Yeah.
And it's very contentious because DART works very hard to sustain itself and tries to operate independent of the rules that all of us in our businesses face. Like, does this make sense? Is this actually producing a public good at a reasonable price? Like, those seem to be irrelevant considerations.
And sadly, I mean, for Plano, it's a very poor business decision to be part of DART.
Yeah, but they're not alone. I mean, Carrollton and Irving, and they're all in the same situation.
That's exactly where I'm going. So you actually serve on the committees, the transportation committees and criminal jurisprudence, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And so thank you for that service.
Sure.
Can you do me a favor and describe to our viewers and listeners what your district looks like? So Denton, Louisville, Colleen, just create a map visually.
Let me give you the best explanation I can give you. So Denton County, you're thinking like Denton, oh man, it's so far. Well, Denton County runs right up against Dallas County. So it's I have a piece of Carrollton, which I share with Ben Baumgartner, and my district stretches from the farthest west sliver of Plano at Midway Road, okay? So if you can imagine where Midway Road is, and goes all the way west out past Texas Motor Speedway. So it stretches, I pick up Carrollton, Louisville, Highland Village, North Flower Mound, Bartonville, Double Oak, Argyle, Justin, North Lake. So it's a strip.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's like this strip that runs on the southernmost part of Denton County.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah, sure.
Just because it's, I want people to have some type of map in their brain
Get a
as
frame
they're
of
listening.
reference there.
Yes, exactly. So John Munns is not
Plano
happy.
mayor. Yeah.
Yes. John Munns, the Plano mayor, is displeased, I believe, to say the least.
Yeah.
About DART. Can you talk to us about your district's representation with respect to DART?
Yeah, sure. So I touch on it peripherally. So most of my district is covered by what's called the Denton County Transit Authority, DCTA, but DART I touch on because I represent parts of Carrollton and parts of Plano. I think that's why it comes up the most. I mean, my district probably doesn't get a lot of meaningful representation from DART or meaningful service from DART, okay? So just start from that baseline. The reason I'm interested is because the mayors of those cities are very interested, and they were very involved during the legislative session, coming and talking to the Transportation Committee about trying to right-size this thing. And when I say right-size, I mean try to make Plano and Carrollton's contribution commensurate with the service that they receive. Because when DART was formed and they had this vision of what it would be in the future, I think they imagined that Plano and Carrollton would be getting a lot more service in exchange for what they're contributing, but it hasn't worked out that way.
I know it's really heartbreaking, at least for me. We don't live in Dallas County, but there's significant investment in Dallas to us, my husband, myself, the organizations that make this a very meaningful part of our lives, conversationally, everything. So taxpayers at these respective cities who are part of DART, they are, unbeknownst to them probably, forking over a lot of money and probably opting out of some goods or services that could otherwise have more money applied to them.
Yeah, let me put this on the bottom shelf for people that listen to your show. I want you to imagine that you go to dinner with 10 of your friends and you get a side salad and everybody else at the table orders, a 24-ounce porterhouse, dessert, wine, and the bill comes and you get ready to pay your bill and they go, why don't we just split it? And you're like, oh no, what have I gotten myself into? Well, that's the situation in which Plano and Carrollton find themselves, is they're getting very little service in exchange for this massive contribution. And the rate at which they contribute to DART is really controlled by statute, et cetera, and the contractual relationship that happened when DART was formed. And not only that, Sarah, but DART itself has borrowed a lot of money, and Plano, Carrollton, Irving, all these other cities that are not getting a lot of service, they're on the debt hook because all those debt instruments that DART used to borrow are essentially guaranteed by the full faith and credit of all of those cities and towns that are involved in it. So in Plano, you got buses that are running around empty. You got trains that aren't safe. And Plano residents are paying a heck of a lot of money for it. Meanwhile, they're not able to contribute that money to their streets, public safety, et cetera.
Exactly. So thank you for that recap. I sat down with Logan Washburn before you, and he's going to be featured as part of this interview. He's our staff writer at Dallas Express, who has done a fantastic job of covering DART. No one else is covering the crime relating to DART.
They don't want to be covered. And I don't think the Dallas Morning News wants to cover it because it's not a good optic, honestly, on DART. That, hey, this is actually a dangerous place to ride at times.
44% crime spike.
That's kind of shocking. And you think about the people that are getting on public transit, oftentimes these are people who are already vulnerable.
That's right.
Okay, they're either economically vulnerable, they have a hard time getting around on their own, etc. And now they're stuck with an option that's really not safe.
Precisely. And to the point of the simple fact that debt has been incurred by DART, they paid $2.4 million worth of bonuses to execs, which is what Logan went into some good detail about. Okay, what would it look like if Plano, Carrollton, if they opted out of DART? What would that look like to DART itself, the revenue model, and perhaps Dallas?
Yeah, so it's interesting. It depends on who you ask, Sarah. So if
I
you
know.
talk about
That's why I'm asking
from
you.
the DART perspective, they're like, this is Hotel California. You can check out, but you can never leave. And part of the problem is, I believe as a lawyer looking at the debt that they have that we've already talked about, those debt instruments, I don't think necessarily allow for or accommodate Plano and Carrollton and Irving leaving that system. Yet Plano has a mechanism to leave. They need to put it on the ballot.
On November 5th, right?
There needs to be a public referendum, and then the public can decide whether they leave. And frankly, that has been the threat. All right? So in my interactions with John Munns and Steve Babbitt and other mayors who are in DART, they've been firm, but they haven't been hostile to DART, meaning, hey, can we just rearrange the deal? Like, we don't have to all the way leave DART. Let's right-size this for the people of Plano and Carrollton and make our contribution commensurate with the level of service that we receive. And DART goes, no. And why do they go, no, we don't want to do that? One, they feel like they have leverage because everybody's on the hook for debt. And two, if they do that, if they right-size it, Dallas's contribution is going to be massively increased, and they won't have money to spend on all the other junk that they want to spend money on.
So, is there any situation, any alternative in which DART goes belly up with any type of pullout, meaningful pullout, and restructuring from Plano and Carrollton?
To be honest, I don't know enough about their financial wherewithal to say if they're a going concern, if those towns or those cities move out of the system. I'd have to look at their books a lot more closely and be a lot more educated about that before I could say that. I think it sure is an open question. Can they make their debt obligations and continue as a going concern without those cities? I just don't know the answer to that, Sarah, but maybe it would cause them to think twice about paying millions of dollars in bonuses for an entity that is not returning good value to everyone.
That's right. And could you elaborate on who has made those decisions to pay out bonuses?
I assume it's the DART board. I mean, am I wrong about that? You tell me.
I believe that the DART board was not brought up to speed on these respective bonuses, from what I've been told. I will fact check that.
That's pretty shocking if that's true. And
Yes.
I'll just say that it wouldn't be the first government board that I've heard of that wasn't necessarily tuned into what they were being asked to oversee or do. So,
and again, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope that the two sources that I'm thinking of right now are incorrect. But
somebody should just ask them. Did the board know?
Correct.
Yeah.
On November the 5th, there is a special session at 5 p.m. To consider whether to call...
In Plano, right?
Yes,
Okay.
a special election, from what I understand. And that was according to a very recent press release statement.
Well, there are untold millions of dollars on the line in this decision.
Yep.
And what was fascinating to me, Sarah, is... so this was my first legislative session, you know that.
Yep.
When the DART bill or the DART topic came up in the Transportation Committee, what was fascinating was DART actually hoisted up a bunch of UTD students and a bunch of other local people. They I assume drove
right.
them down to the Capitol to testify about how DART was existential. That I mean, truly without DART, their lives would be broken and destroyed. And I just kind of sat there with amazement after, as person after person after person testified about how important DART was. I'm like, gosh, where did they get these people? And none of them look like they ride DART. I mean, maybe they do, but there's sometimes when you're on committee in the legislature, it's difficult to discern between propaganda and reality. And I there's going to be a lot of propaganda around this decision, for sure.
There will be. And since you are actually on the Transportation Committee, what is your level of responsibility with respect to everything that moves forward?
During the legislative session, we heard bills that touched on transportation all over the state. And so the idea is that if we're going to modify the law, we need to hear from the people that are affected, and that's what happens. Bills come through committee that are potentially going to change the laws, whether locally or statewide, on topics involving transportation. For example, we heard bills related to modifying the relationship of Houston and the Harris County Toll Road Authority, which is a huge and similar problem. But DART night went very late when I believe it was Matt Shaheen brought the bill on behalf of Plano, trying to right-size the relationship between Plano and DART. And it's our job as the committee to consider the effects on the community of modifying that relationship or modifying the law in a way that'll meaningfully impact it.
How are you considering, if you're able to discuss this, how are you considering any modification?
Yeah, what was amazing is we heard all that testimony, and that bill right-sizing the relationship never got to the floor. So I want you to think about all of the politicians and all of the special interests that are involved in the DART issue. So you have all the Dallas County representatives, all Democrats except for a couple that touch Dallas County. You have the peripheral representatives, some of whom are Democrat but mostly Republican. And you have the major significant political interests of groups like DART and the people who are involved in lending money to DART, et cetera. So this maelstrom of politicians and special interests around the issue resulted in the bill, Shaheen's bill, never really getting to the floor. So the legislature did not impact didn't impact the relationship between Plano and DART this time. Maybe it will next time. But the threat that I could see looming while we were in the committee was, we'll just pull out. And now we're seem to be moving in that direction. And I don't know, maybe we'll know more in November about that.
Okay. Because, at this point, I mean, I've been following this very closely. Logan, much more so. But I am waiting to see how this affects everyone. Dallas especially.
Yes.
I mean, Dallas especially, because with a potential revenue loss of, I don't know, let's call it, $75 million.
Yeah.
Right? From Plano's perspective.
How can it exist?
I do not understand how it can exist. And
Yeah.
I've delved into the financials. That's kind of my forte, so to speak. I know yours is law. And I do not understand how this service can continue to be provided.
Well, Sarah, here's the great thing. Since it's subsidized by government, it doesn't have to make sense to you and me, does it?
Well, no, it doesn't, unfortunately.
Here's the great thing. I will give you an example. I wrestled with the same thing in Denton County, our Denton County Transit Authority, comparing what our towns in Denton County contribute to DCTA vice what services they receive. And when those organizations come to us as legislators, what they try to do is come into our office and say, well, you don't really understand. You don't really understand it. It's not that simple. You can't just compare contributions versus services. Look at all the people that have an opportunity to come to your town through mass transit, and they're stopping at stores, they're having lunches. So there's economic upsweep as a result of that you can't measure, you can't see. Sometimes it just is that simple. We should be looking at what am I as Plano or I as Carrollton or Irving getting out of the deal compared to what I'm contributing. And these government subsidized entities really they resist that analysis.
Extremely so.
Yeah.
And it's infuriating to me because if you're following at all any of the pay discrepancy from one of the Proposition U that was passed last year,
Yes,
in November, right? So you're seeing how there is a lot of back and forth that's still happening to ensure commensurate pay for police at about the $85,000 mark in Dallas. And when I see at least the potential revenue loss that's going to come forth from our neighboring cities, whom I support, moving in that direction of equitable return on their respective investment, Dallas is going to be in an even bigger pickle. And I'm ready to sit here and call them to account. The elected leaders of DART, Dallas City Council doesn't mean that it's going to matter much, but I'm infuriated because crime continues to go up, as you know, until they begin to make our police, I guess, a priority, their pay a priority, and potholes, city services that are critical are just being neglected, in my opinion.
I think this issue it's a litmus test for what you care about.
That's right.
And do you care about things that work? Do you care about streets that work? Do you care about making sure that our streets are safe? The fascinating thing to me, Sarah, about DART is you look at how much money is digested by that system, and at a bare minimum, it should be safe, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be perfect, but at a bare minimum, for all the money that's going into the system, it should be safe, and we can't even accomplish that. And but DART isn't alone. The same thing happens in public transit in Austin.
It does.
People
Chicago,
being
the
murdered on
L,
buses
New
and
York.
things like that.
I mean, it's getting worse.
Yeah,
everywhere.
It's not a good environment.
It's not.
It's not a good environment. But what's interesting to me, what's really sad about the Dallas police pay issue is I was driving back from Houston with my wife on Monday, and driving back, I saw a billboard in far north Houston advertising Plano PD jobs, Plano Police Department jobs. This is our starting salary.
You did?
Yeah.
Did
They're
you
working
take a picture?
hard. No, I didn't, but they're recruiting, and I think the message is that's what Plano cares about, and so is making sure that Plano is safe. It's one of their top priorities.
That's right.
Where you invest your time and money reflects your priorities in life, just like for you and me.
Yep. And do you have any suggestions to any of all of the city council representatives who are going to have to step up in all of the cities that are involved with DART?
Make it fair. Just make it fair. And if you can't make it fair, get out of the system. That has been the what I've observed about the DART issue in the legislature is Plano and Carrollton, et cetera, Irving, they use the legislative process as leverage to try to get DART to make the relationship fair. DART says, no, we're not going to do that. And so now we're in this standoff, and these cities are going to have tough decisions to make. If it's not going to be fair to those cities, they have no choice but to pull out of the system.
And if you were, let's say, the Dallas city manager, if you were in her shoes, what would you do in this situation?
Yeah, emphasize the things that people care about: safety, good roads, right-size some of those other systems that are not being utilized well. A lot of times, and I don't know that this happens in Dallas as much as it happens in Austin and Houston, but my suspicion is it still does to a large degree. There's a ton of spending on a social agenda, and let's put in kiosks downtown, let's put in bike lanes and all this other crap that you see in Austin, Houston. And the social agenda does not benefit people who expect basic city services like police, fire, streets that don't have potholes. Just get out of the social business and get back into the basics of governing.
Yep.
That's my advice.
Precisely. And I pray everyone will read Mark Moses's book, which I talk about all the time, which emphasizes this particular fact very, very well, very briefly, easy read. Anyhow, I promised it'd be a fast interview. It's 9:28, so I think we accomplished that.
Yeah, it's great.
And I just appreciate your candid, intelligent feedback.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Alrighty. Thank you.